Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we have finally hit 210. Oh well, not today, but I hit 210 a couple of days ago, and we are finally getting to the next phase in our journey to CRA. So like I said, I didn't want to get to Choo Choo Island until I could hit 160 Arcane Force. So if I just quickly unequip my Choo Choo Island one, you can see my Arcane Force is 160. And this allows me to have comfortably finished the pre-quest and also the dailies for Choo Choo, because the highest requirement is 160. So once I hit that requirement, I went and did the Choo Choo Island pre-quest. So currently sitting on 210 right now. Once I finish off my daily Choo Choo Island quests and normal Muto, I should have enough to level up to level 4. The reason why I'm waiting for level 4 on my Choo Choo Crystal is because I'll have 160 Arcane Force without my extra points in my Arcane Force, allowing me to finally reset my Hyperstat distribution, which is pretty exciting. So I'm going to go quickly do my dailies and finish off one more Muto run, and yeah, we'll go from there. There we go, we cleared our PQ run. So I'm only doing normal mode, not hard mode, because obviously I don't have enough damage to solo hard mode. If you are playing with friends, or you have a guild, or you're willing to play with just random people, feel free to do hard Muto as well, because it gives you a lot more symbols. So you can see after clearing normal Muto, I only get 3 symbols, as opposed to hard Muto, which will give 5 each run. So I think we should have enough symbols to level up our Choo Choo symbol now. Yep, more than enough. And we can enhance. Oh, I don't have enough money. I'll be right back. I'll just quickly do my daily bosses or something to get some money. So a new boss I've been adding to my daily rotation is normal Arkarium. I think at the range we are now, we should be able to comfortably clear Arkarium in almost every class. So the only thing you have to be wary of is his screen crack, obviously, is the instant kill mechanic. So if you have any ways to dodge that, that'll be good. Otherwise, ideally you want to kill him inside a single bind. After selling all my boss crystals, I got up to 40 mil. So this should be enough to upgrade our crystal now. There we go, level 4. So for the rest of the video, we're actually going to give an attempt at doing Chaos Bonbon. Chaos Bonbon is the easiest out of the 3 Root Abyss bosses, because we don't have to deal with a really big HP pool like Queen does, and we don't have to deal with the annoying mechanic, which is the split that Clown does. And obviously C-Vel is a whole nother thing where we have to get a lot more damage in IED to even finish him before timing out in the fight. So Bonbon is going to be our first goal. To start off, I need to reset my Hyperstat like I mentioned before, so let's do that. So it costs you 10 mil to reset your Hyperstats. And now I need to think about how I'm going to redistribute these points. The first thing I want to do is to make sure that I have 100% crit rate. And for my class, there's a few ways that I can do it. Obviously, if you are playing with Lynx and Legion, you guys can get the Phantom Link, and you can get the Marksman Legion and the Night Lord Legion to get more crit rate. Alternatively, you can do what I did, which is roll for a unique ability for crit rate. So I got 16% crit rate, and I'm just going to keep it like that. Another way to get crit rate is from your legendary potentials. So on my shield, I actually have 9% crit rate. Now, it seems like a bit of a waste, but having 100% crit rate like effectively doubles your damage. If I have 100% crit rate all the time, then the damage output will be significantly higher. So that's going to be my first goal, is to get this crit rate number to 100. Now, usually I would dump points into the crit rate Hyperstat, but I actually have a hyper skill that increases Blast's crit rate by 20%. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to reset this and then put it into crit rate for Blast. So now that I have this point in, my Blast crit rate will be 9%. So that'll be 70 plus 20. And to get the last 10%, I'll have the Decent Sharp Eyes hyper skill to get the last 10% crit rate. So I'm effectively at 100% crit rate for my main attacks. Now we just need to distribute the other points into the other main stats. So there are 5 important ones for bossing in general. You have crit damage, ignore defense, damage, boss damage, and obviously crit rate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to evenly distribute these up to level 6 first, because at level 6 onwards is when the points to level them up significantly increase. Like I mentioned, my class has the ability Threaten to give me another 50% IED, and I also have an IED Familiar, so my IED right now is 70% plus another 50% IED, which should hit me at around 80% IED for the current boss fights. If you guys don't have a IED ability like I do, what you can do is you can roll for IED on your weapons. Like on these lines here, you can get some more IED on them. So for example, if you already had other ways to get crit rate, you would have an IED line instead of a crit rate line, ideally. So I won't be adding any more points into ignore defense. So that leaves me with crit damage, boss damage, and damage. So because of my lacking boss damage, ideally I want to get at around 90% at least. So what I'm going to do is going to add more points into boss damage. But keep in mind that it does cost a lot more points to get this higher. So it costed me about 50 points to get leveled up twice. So I'm going to actually level this up evenly with my crit damage and damage. Now it's costing me 30 points per level. So what I can actually do is I'm going to get this up to level 9 and then see how much it will cost to go up to level 10, which is 35. And I believe I should be able to get all the other stats to 9 and then this to 10. So I'm going to put this to 10, this to 9, and this to 9. So I'm still a little bit under on the boss damage, but I think this should be still okay. And then I have 10 points spare. Now it just depends whether or not I feel like resetting my stats again, if I just want to hold the 10 or I want to distribute them. So in my case, I want to give a real try at Von Bon, so I'm actually going to distribute these points even though usually I wouldn't. So I'm actually going to put them into Strength, which is my main stat. This gives 30 each level, and it's just a few points. You can also put this into Knockback Resistance if you're classes that don't have 100% knockback. Or you can put it into Attack Power, Magic Attack. But I believe your main stat should give you more damage than your attack. So I'm just going to put some more points into this. And my last 3 points into Attack. My range clean at this point is 1.1 mil. And I think this is actually good enough to give a reasonable try at Von Bon. So let's give it a try. So before we start off, we need to prepare ourselves for the fight, of course. First thing is my Legion. Obviously, you guys will organize your Legion to be something as effective as possible. So for me, it's just what I have at the moment with just my Paladin. Of course, you gotta check your links as well. For me, of course, no links. Then we gotta check our V matrix. What I'm gonna do here is that I won't be having Holy Symbol, of course. I'm gonna have my boost node in my highest leveled slot, and then my main 5th job skill, which is Hammers of the Righteous, in the other level 5 slot. And then with whatever left, I'm just gonna fill it up with either boost nodes or abilities. So in my case, I have decent speed infusion, so I can use that for this fight. Making sure to bind all the hotkeys that I have. Next is that in my options, I'm going to lower down my transparency, so then I can actually see the boss clearly and his animation, so I don't die to his animations. The next thing I need to check is going to be my potions, so I'm going to be using the Monster Park green and red potions to get more damage during the fight. So let's quickly go through the equipment that I'm using for the fight. Of course, I have my Afterland totems, so my primary and secondary stat one, and then just a random one. For the rings, I've got the Treasure John's ring with 9%, 10 star, Kana Treasure 10 star, 6%, Noble Ifer's ring 10 star, 9%, Silver Blossom ring 12%, 10 star, and then my Pink Bean Cup with whatever stats. For the accessories, I'm using the Alien set. All of them are 10 star and their potentials are 11, 11, and 14. So for my armor, I'm using, of course, the Von Leon set. All 4 pieces are decently flamed and 9% 10 starred, so this is no changes. For my Iron Face accessory, I've got 12% on the Condensed Power Crystal and 15% on the Aquatic Eye accessory. For my belt, it's 9% strength with 10 star, same with my shoulder, 9% 10 star. My Sweetwater Sword is 10 star with 17% attack. My cape is currently unique with 15% strength, so this is one of the upgrades I did off camera since the last video. My shield has stayed the same, 10 star, 12 attack, 9 damage, 9 crit rate, and my emblem is 12 attack, 30 IED, 9 strength. With that, my damage clean is 1.1 mil, and buffed, let's have a look. Fully buffed, I am around 1.8 mil, and then with the Monster Park potion, I am 1.9 mil. So this is the stats I'm going to be going into Von Bon with. Let's give a go at Von Bon. I'm going to try my best to see how much damage I can do. I don't expect to clear it, but if we are lucky, we might have enough damage. If you had a few links on this character, you could probably clear Von Bon quite easily with some time remaining. But we are going to try our best to do as much damage as we can. I won't be commentating live for this section because I'll probably need to concentrate during the fight. So I'll put some post-commentary over this. Let's see how we go. So beginning the Von Bon fight, what I like to do is I like to use my burst at the very beginning. This way I have more chances to use the burst throughout the fight. You can see I just bind him at the beginning and then use all my burst. Other than this, the first 20% of the fight, you need to focus on 2 things. The first thing is avoiding the little snowball that he throws every once in a while. You can see it when he twirls his wand and then shoots a little snowball forward. And if you get hit by that, you'll instantly die. But because I'm a paladin, I do accidentally get hit by it throughout the fight a few times, but it won't kill me because I'm a paladin. But for every other class, pretty much you will want to either dodge it by jumping, ducking, or dashing through him before he shoots it. So you will see throughout the fight, I will alternate between whichever method I feel more comfortable. Again, it's a game of survivability for this fight. Personally, I like to duck the ball wherever possible because I don't want to get caught mid-air and then get hit by any of his other mechanics. The second thing that you need to make sure you do during the fight is to keep him in the black clocks as often as possible. If he stands in the black clock, he will extend the time that you have during the boss fight. Unlike any of the other bosses, he doesn't start off with 20 minutes, he only starts off with 10 minutes. And you will definitely need about 20 minutes to clear him if you're doing it as low damage as I am. So trying to keep him in the black clocks as often as possible is ideal, and keep him out of the white clocks so you don't run out of time on the fight. He has another mechanic where if you are too close to him, he will try to swing his staff forward, and if he hits you, he will stun you for a short amount of time. This is pretty dangerous because if he hits you with it, and then follows up with any of his other mechanics, you might just die to it before you can avoid them. So what I like to do is I like to jump back, turn around and attack mid-air, so then I can constantly do DPS to him while avoiding his auto attack. Once you hit about 20% into the fight, he will add 2 more mechanics into his attack rotation. So up to this point, we've only had to deal with his snowball, but now we have to deal with his jump and his rewind. So I'll explain the rewind first because it's easier to avoid. He sometimes twirls his staff and then shoots upwards with a black light. What will happen is it'll create a silhouette on the floor or wherever you were when he casted it, and then after a short amount of time, he will teleport you back. So this is why I recommend ducking the snowball wherever possible, because if your silhouette gets caught mid-air, and then he teleports you back and you happen to be above the snowball, you're just gonna die, and there's nothing you can do to avoid it. So ideally you want to be on the floor whenever he casts it, so then you have a predictable spot that you will get teleported back to after a short amount of time. Now the next mechanic is what causes this fight to be very hard for new players and those who aren't familiar with Von Bon, is his jump. So the jump happens roughly every 2 attacks, so when he does his snowball and then his rewind, he will do a jump afterwards. And what it does is it makes him invincible for a short amount of time, so make sure you don't use your bind or your burst when he jumps. And then on landing, he will instantly kill anybody who's on the floor. So what you have to do is, just before he hits the floor, you need to jump. It's pretty straightforward, but in the middle of a fight, you can get locked into your animation. So what I like to do is I try to internally count how many attacks has he done and whether or not he will jump soon. It takes a little bit of practice to get the feel for the timing of Von Bon's jump, but for most classes, it will be pretty straightforward to react to it. You will hear him make a gong noise, or you just see him jump. And when he's midway through the jump, you can do a flash jump or whatever vertical mobility you have to avoid him on the floor. If you are a mage, you're just going to have to time it correctly so then you don't land when he lands. So these are the 2 new mechanics that you have to focus on, along with his snowball and his clock mechanic. Once you hit about halfway through the fight, 2 things happen. First, there will be no more clocks that spawn, so this is why it's so important to keep him in the black clocks as often as possible. You want to make sure you have as much time as you can before the clock stops spawning. The second mechanic is that every once in a while he will disappear and spawn a little portal that you have to go into. When you go into the portal, you have to kill the shadow version of Von Bon, and while that's happening, you're going to take passive damage in that portal area. On top of taking passive damage constantly, if you get hit by the shadow itself, it actually seals you, so you can't do damage to him. Now the mechanic is that if you don't kill the clone in a certain amount of time, you will just instantly die. This is the mechanic that I found most difficult for the boss because my damage is quite low, and I can't consistently do enough damage and heal myself at the same time to kill the clone and then not die to it. So during the fight, I actually died 2 or 3 times to this. For most players, if you don't have enough damage, this is where your run is going to get really difficult. From this point onwards as well, if you die outside of the clone area, Von Bon will just float in a little bubble for like 30 seconds and waste your time. So this is really important that you can't die in the Von Bon fight from the halfway point onwards. You're just going to run out of time in the fight. You just want to try your best to avoid dying because this is one of the most punishing bosses because he just wastes your time. Once you make it to the last 10% of the fight dynamic changes completely. So he stops doing majority of his other mechanics and he does 2 new things. The first thing to go through is the rain mechanic. It's similar to Magnus where a bunch of little cogs fall down from the sky, and depending on which color cog you get hit by, you will lose a certain amount of health. The big pink cogs are the only ones you really have to watch out for because they are the only ones that can instantly kill you. I've lost many runs just by casually getting clipped by it like a kilometer away. Pretty much just stay away from the pink cogs. All the other cogs don't instantly kill you, but you will have to react and heal yourself, otherwise you might just die. The next thing is that he disappears and reappears every once in a while, and he flies up into the air. If you're close to him, he will knock you back, which is super dangerous because he can just knock you into a pink cog, and he will do a significant amount of damage if you're nearby. So for most range classes, this phase is super easy because you can just do damage to him when he's flying up, and then keep doing damage when he lands. But for me, because I'm a warrior and melee class, I have to wait for him to land before I can do damage to him. And so the last 10% of the fight is quite difficult for me. Well, that was a pretty good run, I think. I was really close. Made a few mistakes in the run, and thankfully I'm a paladin, so I just tanked it all. I did die a few times, but the only times that I did die were due to the Shadow Realm mechanic, where I had to go into the other world and then kill his clone. And I felt that my damage was a little bit too low to comfortably kill it. I found it really difficult to balance out using my potions with trying to do damage, because when you use the potions, it stops your animations for a little bit. So I need to practice that mechanic a little bit. In terms of the damage, I think that I had enough damage to kill it, but then I kept forgetting about my hammers. If you guys aren't familiar with the Paladin mechanic, if you use 2 different charges like I am right now, it produces the hammers around you. And there was a lot of times during the fight where I forgot to refresh the duration, so then I actually lost a significant amount of my DPS. But for the most part, I think that I had enough damage to actually clear Von Bon. I just didn't have the right mechanics to do it. I think I would have had to play almost perfectly in the fight to milk the most out of the fight to do as much damage as I could. So this is actually really good news because of 2 things. The first one is we are very close to clearing Von Bon, and 2, if you guys are watching this series and aren't restricting yourself from using Lynx and Legion, you guys could actually realistically clear Von Bon at this point. All that it comes down to at this point is just mechanics and just practicing the boss to get the most damage as you can. As you can see, my damage clean, let me just remove all my buffs real quick. My damage clean is 1.1 mil, my boss damage is 75, and my IED during the fight is around 80, 85. So with those stats, you can easily clear Von Bon with Lynx and Legion. Anyway guys, my adrenaline is pumping, and I can't really focus anymore. That was a really close fight. Yeah, hopefully in the next video, I'm going to be strong enough to clear it a little bit more consistently. What I'm going to need to do is I need to cube some of my things to unique 2 lines to get a little bit more damage. Maybe 1.3 mil should be sufficient damage to kill Von Bon. Thanks for watching. If you guys are enjoying the content, please make sure to give the video a like and comment down below. Subscribe if you want to see more from me, and have a nice day.